TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Now we'll talk about WCW. How did the whole jump come about?
Dallas was like Dallas once again, it's like anything else in the business. Dallas was our friend, and Dallas kind of brokered the deal to Scott and then to me. It was funny because Scott and I didn't know, because we were told to just ultra kayfabe it.
Right.
And we were in the locker room somewhere, and Scott looked at me. We're in the shower, and he looked over at me and goes, "Dude, I'm so fucking out of here." I looked at him. I said, "I'm gone too." I said, "I signed a deal memo." We just looked at each other, and we were just like, "No, I can't hug. We're nude." But it was nice because I was thinking, man, I'm going to go out there with myself, and he was thinking the same thing. But going up there together was just.
What was Vince's reaction to you guys both leaving?
My whole deal was I talked to Vince, and I went on a vacation with my wife to the Panhandle in Florida, and just kind of did the whole soul searching, because I had back then you had to put in writing within 90 days that you weren't going to let your contract roll. So I had to do that. So I wrote a really nice letter to Vince, typed it up and FedExed it, but called him before he got it and said, "Hey, I just want to tell you, I signed my this paper. I signed it not for to turn over, but I want to talk to you in Stockton," which was the next TV. So we walked outside the building, and I just told him. He said, "Do you mind me asking what you got?" And I said, $750, $850, $950. And he just shook his head, and I said, "If you can match it, I'll stay." And he said, "I can't match that." He said, "If I pay you that, I don't have to pay every guy in that locker room." I said, "If we don't have that kind of money as a company." I said, "I understand." He says, "Well, we're family." I said, "My wife is, at this point, she's 6 months pregnant." I said, "I can't be on the road 300 days a year."
Right.
So I can't do it. I'm not going to do it with the rest. I said, "They promised me 185 days a year as a max." And I said, "It's guaranteed money." I said, "I can buy a bigger home because I know how much money I've got coming in." I said, I'm not living week to week and waiting for WrestleMania payoff. I said, I can be almost like normal. And he wished me well, and I left.
Was there an open door basically to come back in the future?
Yeah, we stayed, Vince and I always, I felt that Vince and I have always had a good understanding. I always liked Vince, It's like anything else, there's times you want to strangle him. I'm sure there's times he wanted to strangle me, but,
right.
I always have thought that he's, and I was blessed to be a top guy. So he's, people that can make him money, I'm sure he's a lot more nicer too. But generally, I've seen a side of Vince a lot of people haven't had a chance to see, and even when his daughter, when at his daughter's wedding, he was giving his daughter away. We had just some time to talk, during that weekend. It was, I saw a different side of Vince. There is a human there with the people.
Were you surprised that the angle with DDP got over as much as it did?
No, because we knew. That was almost a can't miss situation because nobody got into us. Nobody really got into Scott and I.
Right.
And whoever that first person was knighted.
Right.
He was going to pull the sword out of stone. That was definitely an Excalibur moment. And the thing was that when we, determined it should be Dallas, because Dallas was getting over on his own.
Super.
He was getting over. He was kind of the people's choice, and it was the same old thing. Buddy system. He'd been there for us. It's like okay, now time to do one for you.
Right.
Which was but it wasn't just that. It was like it was the right thing to do. Right thing to do, right guy. Just so happens to be a friend, which makes it really rewarding for Scott and I. And like I said, he had done Scott some really positive things when Scott was down and out with a child and in Germany, and so it was nice, and it was great to see it work. And Dallas worked his ass off.
Definitely. How did the other boys react when you guys came back to WCW?
Well, they weren't happy. The rumors, we were making Sting money.
Right.
It was nobody else was making that kind of money. And I think it was one of those situations where, every time we'd say something, we'd say, "Well, in New York, this is the way we do it. In New York, this is the way." And we're just like, fuck, shut these guys up. But it was different, these guys worked part-time. they didn't really run house shows.
Right.
They didn't draw.
It was a different animal.
Yeah, it really was. It was just like, we were, it was like we were Navy SEALs.
Right.
We'd been pretty much battle tested.
What happened, or what are your memories between the match with you, Scott, and the Nasty Boys? Jerry said that you guys worked a little bit stiff, or Scott worked stiff with him in the ring.
The one when all the shit happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a liar. No, what happened? This is the story of this whole thing to show his ignorance. Jerry had a bad neck, and it was known to Scott and I, and to Knobs, and to Jerry, of course, who had the bad neck. And Jerry had talked to JJ, and JJ said, "Just go work the match." And I heard JJ say that to him. I was right there in the room. So we worked the match, and it's Scott threw a chair at Jerry, and Jerry didn't see it. It was like a bowling chair, not a folding chair, but like a plastic Brunswick chair. And he threw it, and Jerry didn't see it through the lights, and it came and hit him. Game like a stinger. He scooted in. Scott thought he was going to feed him the comeback. And Sags went in and just beat him up, potatoed him. By the time Scott knew what happened, he was bleeding. Because, us working stiff. Jesus. Those guys, I mean, they couldn't work light if they wanted to. So, but anyway, they ended up suing us out of this whole thing. And instead of just, as soon as he got hit with that chair, if he would have crumbled and said, "Hey, like the worst thing you can do is go after the boys."
Right.
He wasn't smart enough to realize he had a company.
Yeah.
And I think he ended up getting he got fired or got let go or whatever it was, probably from a $300,000 or $400,000 a year spot. Got nothing in settlement, maybe $100,000 or $200,000.
Right.
Just a really poor business, and went after us. Went after me and Scott, and we were. I always considered him a friend up until then. I don't dislike the guy. I just think he made some made some bad choices in his life.
How upset was Arn Anderson and the rest of the Horsemen after you guys did the imitation?
Not at all. They weren't. When we came back, it was everybody's laughing. It was funny, and then all the people in Arn's family and friends and people like that just stirred him, and it wasn't done to be malicious.
What are your thoughts of Tank Abbott? And did anyone ever feel that he was going to start shooting on people in the middle of a match at all, or no, it was all business? No,
he was all business. They did something. Robbie smacked him one day, and like he was in the audience, and Robbie punched him. Because Robbie was. I don't think there's many guys that beat Robbie Steiner. He's all beat up now and old and a school board guy, but Robbie was a pretty good measuring stick, and I think they kind of had a little tit for tat. And I didn't see Tank come in the back, and I saw Tank pretty much get his bag and leave that night. So,
TitleMatchNetwork.com